my name is Emma Rice, and today I'm going to be talking about why the drought in New Mexico needs to be recognized as a global problem. New Mexico is ranked 4th on the driest states in New Mexico under Nevada, Arizona, and Utah. But according to Joe Diaz, the state climatologist, country rankings, we are the most water-stressed state in the United States. What does this mean, you may ask? It means that the amount of water that we have is rapidly declining at a more rapid pace than any other state in the United States. Isn't that crazy? Dave Du Bois, New Mexico's state climatologist, said that we have about 80 years before the amount of water, usable water, that we have in New Mexico is going to become detrimental if we don't do something now. We have to act now, people. Civilization as we know it does hinge on the amount of usable water that we have. We rely on water to grow crops. We rely on water to feed cattle, drink, bathe, and many other things. As New Mexico reaches the end of their water supply, the continued demand for usable water will skyrocket. The less water that we have as a civilization, the more we're going to want it. We need water for everything. Researchers are getting worried, and so should we. There are things we can do now to prevent this irreversible drought. Joe Diaz explains in an article the 4 types of drought there are. First of all, we have meteorological drought. This is when the dry weather patterns are going to affect the weather that we have. So because it's more dry, we're not going to get more rain because we're already dry. The second type of drought is going to be meteorological drought. This is when the drought that we have in our state is causing there to be less water in the lakes and the rivers. We don't want this. We don't want less water in the lakes and rivers because lakes and rivers really help us out. The third type of drought we have is agricultural drought. This kind of drought means that the amount of water that we have is affecting the amount of crops we can grow and the amount of animals that we can feed and give water to and clean to harvest. We don't want that. Socioeconomic drought, this is when the water supply cannot meet the water demand. And guess what? Most parts of New Mexico are experiencing all 4 types of this drought. When they suffer all 4 types of this drought, fire danger rises, irrigation allotments decrease, and surface water for agricultural disappears. The Rio Grande is slowly running out of water. New Mexico has long periods of precipitation, which means relying on surface water is going to lead to shortages, and we're gonna dry up. We don't wanna freaking dry up. The Rio Grande runs 1,800 miles from Southern California to the Gulf of Mexico, so that means lots of people take from the water as it gets down to New Mexico because it goes from Southern Colorado. So another reason why our drought issue needs to be outside of New Mexico is because the Rio Grande is a main source of water for us, and when there are other states taking our water, no bueno. Fleck from Water Politics writes that we're going to have a flat, sandy, dry riverbed with a little ribbon of water meandering through the sand very, very soon. I read that because I wanted to get it right. With climate change and the surface temperature rising, the snowpack is not going to feed the ground. It's going to evaporate right into the air. An example that I liked of this was dry ice. Dry ice doesn't melt. It just evaporates into the air because the temperature of the air is not humid enough for it to soak into the ground, and that's what's happening in New Mexico because of global warming. Like I said, global warming is an international problem, so therefore New Mexico's drought is an international problem. Snowfall and rain are evaporating is 10% higher than it was just 3 years ago, and that was according to climatology.gov. I'm so sorry. 10% is a lot, so we need to be more aware of where we're at. If we recognize these water issue problems now and more cautious about how we go about living our day-to-day life, because that's what it is, and not just people in New Mexico, but people internationally, if we're more aware